Welcome to Mind Body Business Collective, and I'm Michelle Kraus. I am the president of the Severna Park and Baltimore Holistic Chamber of Commerce. I'm also the owner of Vital Fitness Holistic Center, and we wanted to bring you a podcast today, Maintaining Healthy Mindset in Times of Chaos. And today we have Tina McDermott from Finally Thin Forever and Laura Goldstein of Soul Wisdom with Lore. Thank you, ladies, for joining us and leading this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Michelle. Thank you. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Tina.
Hi. So, Laura, there's this recurring theme in our world that we're all seeing. I'm seeing it, and there's so many people just not feeling like themselves these days, which makes a whole lot of sense, right? Given the fact that we're all in the midst of this global pandemic, and people are feeling lethargic, depressed, and just all around not themselves. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So today, you and I, we're going to chat about some steps that people can start taking right now so they can feel better right now, right?
Mhm.
So, Laura, can you talk a little bit about, okay, so this is what I've heard, that if it bleeds, it leads. And that's the news. That the news, they will always publish this negative news that's out there, and people become addicted to it. And that's all we want to do is listen to this negative news, and it makes us more depressed. Can you talk a little bit about that, Laura?
Yeah, from a biological developmental perspective, our brains are very ancient. They were developed in, caveman area. And the goal of the brain's flight, fight, or freeze response is to keep us in a state of always being aware of the danger. So it's a very fear-based process. And so, from a biological perspective, we're all designed to filter everything that happens through fear first. Like, oh my God, is this bad? Am I in danger? How do I need to protect myself? And it's really what puts us in that mindset of, oh my God, this is happening. I need to go now buy 1,000 rolls of toilet paper because I could be out. That's where it comes from. So when you can recognize that this is kind of how we're designed, you can say, okay, wait, back up, because not everything for us is life or death, but we do tend to go there first. Absolutely.
I relate it to, that ancient brain. It's awesome that you mentioned that, is that, I'm going down the path, and, normally down that path, I see a snake. So I'm geared towards looking for the negative so that I don't go down that path anymore, because that's where those snakes are. So is that kind of what you're talking about, that our minds are geared towards that negative piece?
Well, yeah, it's self-preservation. I mean, if you think about why we have, our little amygdala and our fight or flight system, it's to really preserve our life. And at
Yeah.
one point, we really needed to use it all the time because we were hunting and gathering for food. It was a very dangerous time. There was a lot of life-threatening elements out there. And fortunately, with modern times, we don't have to worry about being eaten by a lion while we're hunting for our food, but we're still, built that way.
Yeah, we are. And there's this something that I listened to the other day. They were saying the 5-in-1 rule. I don't know if you've heard about this, Laura, but for every one piece of negative news, listen to 5 or find 5 good, happy things going on in the world to kind of counterbalance your life, and start gearing our brains towards looking for the good stuff. How does that sound?
Well, that sounds pretty good. It's kind of hard to find because negativity and drama sells. So that's what we get, on the news. But yeah, I think you have to look elsewhere. Like if you're trying to look at that on TV and media and stuff, you're probably not going to find it. But there's plenty of other places to get that from.
Right down the street from my house, there's somebody in their lawn. They put up a Snoopy. Every Christmas, they put up a Snoopy whole big scene. Well, Snoopy's back out, and she makes masks and puts them in a plastic baggie and hangs them from Snoopy's house, and says, free masks, take one if you want one, if you need one.
Ah,
I find good stuff everywhere, and that because I'm looking for it. I'm looking for the opportunity out there. So, and you know what's happening in our world that's good. I mean, personally, I listen to the news 10 minutes max. I'm done because it can tend to depress me, and I'm looking for what's the opportunity out there. What's the good stuff? So, look, let's talk a little bit about what do you think about the opportunity during this time?
You know, so I believe that there's a reason for everything. I think the universe gave us this situation as a huge wake up call. It really is a message to us to say, you know what, stop and slow down and start paying attention to how your choices are impacting the greater good. And while we might be forced into change right now and forced into some isolation and distancing from people, maybe forced into, you know, being busier than ever and putting your life at risk to serve the greater good. I mean, that's a possibility too. This is an opportunity for us to really take stock and say, okay, how did we get here? And how am I contributing to this? And am I really contributing in a way that I want to contribute? What does my life look like now? How are my relationships? What's going on with my physical health? What about like my career? Do I feel like I'm serving a purpose in the world, or do I hate my job and just, you know, keep getting up, you know, wishing for the weekend? So this is a time for us to kind of take stock and reflect and slow down so that we can maybe make some better choices, you know, for ourselves, for our families, but also for the greater good.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of the things when this first happened, I'm like, okay, I need to pivot. I need to pivot my whole life. And what opportunities do I see right now? What opportunities do I see? And one of the opportunities for me is to do more of my speaking and get out there more and speaking on wellness and that's, you know, there's also lessons to be learned during this time. Would you agree, Laura?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lesson for me was I needed to step up as a leader in my field. And it was time for me to let go of my personal training studio and go online. And that was my lesson. So, what can you speak to some lessons, Laura, yourself or for the world?
I think for me, it was to really be intentional about what I'm doing. And I'm going to pull Michelle in here because in one of our other holistic chamber conversation, she was like, yeah, it's like we're going back to the 70s now, every night dinner is ready at 6 p.m. because that's just what we do. And, DIY haircuts and things like that. And
I always do DIY haircuts.
you what?
I always do DIY haircuts, so I'm right at home.
Okay, well, for the rest of us, it's just like, I'm not letting my husband touch my hair with those scissors. No way. But, I think like for me personally, I tend to get caught up in, the business part of the world because I love what I do, that I really forget to take that time to just be in, be with my husband. And oh my gosh, we're doing a puzzle. I haven't done a puzzle in like 5 years, but it's that slowing down. So that's kind of been my lesson, is like, hey, slow down, be intentional, be present, and enjoy.
Yeah, it's actually nice. My husband was home from work for this past 6 weeks, and I was enjoying having him around because I worked from home anyway, 50% of the time. And it was just so comforting to have him here. I don't know. And we spend more time together. We ride bikes more together. And normally he's really tough on me when we're on the bikes. Like I'm not fast enough for him, but he has slowed down for me and hasn't given me grief about it. That is a beautiful opportunity and something that I have found during this time as well. So yeah, that's awesome. What about meditation? And you had said something about this intuitive soul voice, Laura. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, we actually have two voices within, and no, it's not schizophrenia. We're not like hearing things, but we do have two voices. We have our head space, which is again that fear-based. I'm very self-critical. It is the logic center of our existence. So it, it has a purpose, and it has an important purpose, but it operates with a lot of loudness and oh shoulds and bright shiny object syndrome and keeping up with this, and oh, so and so expects this from me and I have to do it. But we also have our soul voice. This is really, you can call it your spirit, your intuition, whatever, best serves you. But this is your essence. It's like the beacon of who you truly and authentically are. And this voice always has your highest good and purpose. It's like your beacon, your internal GPS, or like your little lighthouse, your beacon. It will never lead you astray. It always tells you what to do for your highest good. It's connected directly to source. So you're getting that guidance there as well. So when you can use meditation, quiet time, sometimes gardening, can be meditative. You don't have to like sit with your fingers and the little thing. You can just do something that allows you to get out of your head and more into that intuitive space, and just listen to yourself and listen to the lovely words that it has for you.
That is awesome. That second voice, I was going to ask, how do you tap into that voice and just get out of the headspace, right?
Yeah, I have an activity. We don't have time to go through it today, but it's on the front page of my website. There's a couple videos you can get this. But I put a visual to the voice in my head and the voice in my soul. And I'll just speak on myself. And it might sound a little silly, but this works, and I do it a lot with my clients. The voice in my head looks like a cheerleader with pigtails. I was never a cheerleader, mind you. Don't know how, but it's kind of like that, kind of snarky, sarcastic voice. But my soul voice is that of a dragon. And it's very grounded and quiet, has a little bit of a sense of humor, but it's a much different voice. So when I am sitting in quiet and I can hear the words, I instantly put to it, okay, is this my snarky cheerleader talking, or is this the confident, powerful dragon that's talking? And it helps me focus on what I'm hearing. So yes, kind of a cheesy thing, but let me tell you, it works wonders.
I am going to use that, Laura. I'm going to use that. I don't know if I'm going to have the snarky teenager voice. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to use that because, people talk about meditation. And personally, it's very difficult for someone whose brain ping pongs all over the place. I'm not going to put labels, and like mine. And it's very difficult for me to sit still and meditate. However, it's easy for me to go on a walk and meditate while I'm walking and breathing. So this sounds weird, but I'm going to tell you what I do. I count my breaths. I play a little game in my head, and I breathe in for 4, I breathe out for 4. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4. And then I do it for 5, breathe in for 5, out for 5. And I get all the way up to 10, and then I do it backwards. And what that does, it gets me out of that thinking part of my brain. And I come home with these intuitions, with these pieces of information that I wouldn't have gotten elsewhere. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten these pieces of information because I cleared up the clutter in the thinking part, whatever that snarky little person is up there, that voice as you call it, or whatever that is, I cleared that out and things come to me. And I love what you said, the dragon voice. I'm going to use it.
Well, use what works for you. I mean, it can be an animal, it can be an object, it can be anything. And like I said, I walk through like in detail the process of finding that right for you. So if you want, you can check out those videos. But it's going to be unique to you, and there's really no right or wrong answers, like what speaks to you. But I love that you mentioned the breath work, because that is not like silly, ridiculous at all. I mean, I use that myself with different kind of breaths, but it really does. It gives you something to focus on that isn't, oh my God, I'm meditating, I'm sitting here, am I doing it right? What am I hearing? Wait, my thoughts, oh my God, don't forget to add raisins to the grocery list. You know, it really gives you something to just quiet and pay attention to.
That it works for me all the time, every time. And sometimes I'll forget to start. Every morning we get up, we get dressed, we put the leashes on, and out the door I go with all 3 of my dogs. And if I don't, they give me grief. It's time to go. And sometimes I forget to start with my breathing. And then I'll find myself not in a good space. I'm like, wait a minute, breathe, count your breaths. And then it just clears up all of that. And I come home so happy and just ready to face the day, and in a positive, wonderful way. It's also nature that helps me, getting out, going for a walk, focusing on nature, listening to the birds, the trees, whatever it is, and smell the beautiful smells of the morning. That's me.
No, I agree. I agree. I used to have a dog, and I remember that I would enjoy that morning time. Now I have 3 cats, and we do not walk outside. But I do remember it being like quite a meditative time for me, just walking the dog. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I wouldn't give it up for the world. Just wouldn't. And my dogs won't let me. They don't let me. They let me know it's time to go. You know, if I even think about picking up my phone, you should hear my dog, what he does, my boxer. He talks back to me and jumps and jumps and jumps. It's time to go, mama. It's adorable. It's adorable. So on another note, things that I've been doing on a normal basis, I've done this for years, is before bed, I have a little gratitude journal that I keep right by my bed. And even if it's the same thing or the same set of things, every evening I'll write them down, everything that I am grateful for during that day. And so what are some tips that you have about gratitude lists, journals, anything else?
I love gratitude journals, because what it does is it forces our brain to shift from that, oh my gosh, you know, I'm afraid, to, hey, you know what, there's a lot in my life to be grateful for. And if you think of it, I don't know if you know the works of Jerry and Esther / Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
Yes.
I listen to them every day.
Yes. And so when they talk about like their radio tuner, I love that analogy, because when you experience gratitude and practice gratitude, you're actually tuning your radio to the frequency that brings us creativity, inspiration, abundance, peace. So when you are making your gratitude list, even if you have to start small, because sometimes if you're in a bad place, it's like, I'm grateful that I have a pen to write with. I mean, I know it sounds, you know, ridiculous, but if you're in a really negative space, just start with the small things and then work your way up. But it's going to help you tune your radio frequency to a much different, more peaceful, positive vibration.
Oh my gosh, Laura, I love the small things, the pen, the small things. And this is something I've spoken to a lot in the past is, there are times when I'll wake up during this time and I'll be like, this is surreal. Are we really in isolate? Are we really in COVID-19? Are we really quarantined? Oh my gosh. And my brain will start there and I'm like, nope, what are you thankful for? And then I'll start with my blanket. I am so thankful for my blanket, and then the warm dogs at my feet, and then I keep going on. I don't stop there. I keep going to get me in this attitude of gratitude for the day. I put my feet on the floor and I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful I have a rug on the floor to warm my feet. I walk to the bathroom. I'm so thankful for the bathroom that is right there. And then I'm thankful for my contacts. I'm thankful for the hot water. And I go on this rampage of appreciation that takes me from that thought that I had, oh my gosh, what world am I living in, to I am so grateful for and in appreciation and gratitude for my entire life and every little tiny piece of my life. And that helps me get out of whatever mode might have taken me over. And this happens to a lot of people, doesn't it, Laura?
It does. And if you pay attention to your heart center as you start to express gratitude, you can actually start to feel it expand. I don't know if that happens to you, but it's like I start going, I'm like, oh, and I'm grateful for, my husband and for the joy that we have together. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you get the warm fuzzy feeling.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And yes, I do get the warm fuzzies. Absolutely. That's awesome. I love that. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, or we wanted to talk about, is setting that intention to be present. Can you talk a little bit about that a little more, Laura?
Yeah, back to that biological perspective, our brains are very future based. Okay, if I did this, what happens? If I go here, am I in danger? And when we live in that future paced place, there's always a feeling of anxiety. If you think about your future thoughts, well, what is this going to happen? What if I do this? What if I do this and it doesn't work out? It really instills this anxious feelings because we don't like to not know. We want to know. We want to, have confirmation and solid knowing that when I do this, it's going to be right. And so that place of not knowing is very anxiety provoking. So to shift out of that, instead of worrying about, well, what is tomorrow going to be like? Are we going to open in a couple weeks? What's going to happen next month? Are things going to go back to normal? Just, return to now. What do I have control of today, right at this moment? What can I do to either maybe, take a step to improve my health, or take a step to read something that I've been wanting to read that's going to improve my mindset or shift my perspective. What do I have control of right now that I could do and really just enjoy the process? It instantly calms your nervous system.
Laura, you have helped me so much. What can you take control of right now? Don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. What can you control right now? And what you can control right now are back to those simple things, almost back to that gratitude thing. What can you do right now? What can you be grateful for? Or just what do you have control of? Because lack of control is so difficult for many people, me included. But what can I control? I can control that I can sit down and read a chapter of a book and be okay with it. Or I can control what I put in my mouth that day, but not even put control in there. I can take responsibility for what I'm putting in my mouth, as opposed to say, oh, this COVID-19 has got me going so anxious and insane. I'm going to eat everything I can because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that shift from control to responsibility. I think responsibility too for my best interest. That there's a distinction there. So I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Taking responsibility for yourself and just not blaming it, because it's so easy to point your finger, and I hate pointing my finger, but it's so easy to point your finger at the government or at, COVID-19 or at someone or something else. But my husband said this to me a long time ago: when you point at somebody, how many fingers do you have pointing back at you? Look at yourself, take a responsibility, and take hold of your life. And you can do this. You have the ability to do it. You just need to settle in and surrender.
Yeah.
Not a great word. Just surrender to what's going on right now. So
that was a great finale to that, when you're talking about what your husband was sharing, because it kind of brings us back to that first one. Take the opportunity. Now it's the opportunity to go through these practices and take responsibility and do what you can, for your higher good. So I really like that. It kind of brought it back to then, okay, now we have the opportunity to do all this.
Exactly. And let's recap. Let's recap so that people can remember those pieces that we gave them. The first piece, I think, was the 5-to-1 rule, right? 5 good pieces of news to 1 negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was finding the opportunity and finding what are our lessons, looking to what is good with all of this, what is the opportunity for us. And this is my favorite piece, setting the intention to listen to your intuitive soul voice. That's my favorite. I cannot wait to go and watch those videos and find my personal names for my voices. I cannot wait. So other tips were the walking meditation, gardening, to get yourself whatever you can do to get yourself out of that thinking brain. There's something that I do called the peace process to help people out of the thinking brain. I forgot to talk about that. We can do that another time. Keep a gratitude journal and go on these rampages of appreciation. And setting the intention to be present and taking responsibility for your life and in a moment-to-moment basis. Yes?
Yes. Thank you for being such a good note taker. I'm glad somebody's got to take notes around here.
Yeah, I need to make sure that I've got everything and that we've covered everything and that we're helping people with this information and helping people just live optimally right now, because there is the opportunity to live optimally. Laura, what you say?
Absolutely.
And I would love to round this all out and bring Michelle in and say, Michelle, thank you so much for hosting us today on this wonderful podcast. And is there anything else that you'd like to bring in today?
I just want to thank you, ladies. Laura said, the one thing that I say is I feel like I'm back in the 70s and having time with family. And I'm excited because I've taken it as an opportunity to pick up, my guitar and things that I haven't done in a while. And I find that doing that will totally sidetrack you and, bring you back to your heart. And I really resonated with what you ladies said about the opening of your heart. And I started going into the chemical aspect of that. Well, the heart starts to get and I'm like, okay, get out of that. It doesn't matter. It's just the feeling, getting that feeling of feeling good, finding people that bring you up is another thing too. Make sure that you're not all negative you find yourself going down the rabbit hole with somebody. Yeah. So, but I want to thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. You did a fantabulous job. And if you want to be in touch with Laura or Tina or myself, we will have our links down below. You can subscribe to the Mind, Body, and Business podcast. And we have other podcasts that you can listen to. We have Laura on another, and I know Tina's going to be doing some more. So we just want to round out and say thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to speaking again.
Thank you, beautiful souls.
Thank you. Namaste.